When did you realize your husband's violence would kill you? I was looking for our insurance papers in Alan's home office when I found the leather journal. The first entry read, March 15th, 2023, V questioned overtime hours again. Applied correction, fractured rib number 3. Result, no further financial inquiries for 6 weeks. Method successful. My hands went cold. I read it 3 more times before my brain would process the words. This was Alan's handwriting. Alan, my husband of 5 years, had written about breaking my rib like it was a business transaction. I flipped back to our first anniversary. June 8th, 2020. V forgot to iron work shirt before client dinner. First major correction applied. Bruising minimal on upper arms, easily covered with cardigan. Mental note, avoid face and visible areas during summer months. I remembered that night. He'd grabbed my arms so hard I couldn't lift them for days. I told Maria at work that I'd pulled a muscle at the gym. The next entry made me drop to the floor. November 2nd, 2020. V contradicted me at Thanksgiving dinner with parents. Correction level 2 required, resulted in hairline wrist fracture. Cover story established, car door incident. Parents believed without question. V's compliance improved significantly. The car door. I'd worn that cast for 6 weeks, telling everyone about my clumsiness with the heavy door of Alan's truck. My phone camera shook as I photographed page after page. Each entry followed the same format. Date, infraction, correction applied, result achieved. Like I was a machine that needed adjustments. April 19th, 2022. V spoke to male coworker at grocery store for approximately 3 minutes. Correction level 4. ER visit required for concussion and facial lacerations. Cover story, fell downstairs while carrying laundry. Medical staff showed no suspicion. The stairs. I still had the scar above my left eyebrow. The ER doctor had been so kind, asking if I felt safe at home. Alan had held my hand, tears in his eyes, playing the worried husband perfectly. I'd believe those tears were real. I found a rating system in the margins. Level 1, bruising, no medical attention needed. Level 2, sprains or minor fractures, urgent care sufficient. Level 3, fractures requiring casting, avoid ER if possible. Level 4, ER necessary, ensure consistent cover story. Level 5, hospitalization required, invoke mental health concerns if questioned. Then I saw last month's entry. October 3rd, 2024. V opened credit card without permission. Correction level 5 implemented. 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding, requiring emergency surgery. Cover story unnecessary due to V's medicated state post-surgery. Medical debt now exceeds $35,000, ensuring financial dependence. That's why I was in his office, looking for insurance papers to negotiate payment plans for the surgery that had saved my life after my fall in the garage. At the bottom of the page, this morning's date. October 31st, 2024, V acting suspicious about phone, checking it frequently, deleting texts, may have contacted someone. Level 5 correction plan tonight. Consider permanent solution if pattern continues. The word permanent was circled 3 times in red ink. Alan's truck rumbled into the driveway, 3 hours early from work. I grabbed the journal and my purse, shoving both under my arm. His truck door slammed. Where are you, Vicky? His voice carried through the house, that fake sweetness he used when he was hunting. I slipped toward the back door, hearing his work boots on the hardwood. Vicky? I know you're home. Your car's outside. His footsteps started up the stairs toward his office. I turned the back door handle slowly, praying it wouldn't creak. What are you doing in my office? I ran. Across the backyard, around the side of the house to my car. My hands shook so hard I dropped the keys twice. Alan appeared at the front door just as I reached my car. Where are you going, Vicky? Just getting something from the car. My voice came out steady somehow. He started walking toward me, that familiar look in his eyes. The one that came before the corrections. I yanked the car door open and dove inside, locking it immediately. The engine turned over on the 3rd try. Alan was running now. His fist hit my driver's side window hard enough to leave a crack as I threw the car in reverse. You come back here right now or you'll regret it. You hear me? You'll regret it. I floored it backward, tires screaming. In the rearview mirror, I saw him running for his truck. My phone buzzed. You have 10 minutes to come home. Don't make this worse. Then another. I know where you'll go. The clinic. He knew I'd go to work. But it was the only place with people, cameras, witnesses. I pulled into the parking lot sideways, abandoning the car across 2 spaces, and ran for the door. Maria looked up from the reception desk. Vicky, what's wrong? I couldn't speak. I just held up the journal, my hands still shaking. Call 911, I managed. Call them right now. The 2 officers arrived at the clinic 15 minutes later. I showed them the photos on my phone, swiping through entry after entry. The older officer, badge reading Morrison, barely glanced at them before handing my phone back. This doesn't prove anything. Could be fiction writing. Maybe your husband's working on a novel. The younger officer, Rodriguez, was staring at my arms. I'd pushed up my sleeves in the heat of panic, forgetting about the finger-shaped bruises from last week when Alan had dragged me away from the front door when Maria had stopped by unexpectedly. Ma'am, those bruises, Rodriguez started. That's when Alan walked through the clinic door. He wasn't running anymore. He moved slowly, deliberately, his face arranged in that concerned expression he'd perfected over 5 years. Officers, thank God you're here. My wife has episodes. She's supposed to take medication for her paranoia, but she stops taking it sometimes. He pulled out his phone, showing them a photo of my anxiety medication prescription, the one he'd insisted I get after my first accident when I'd started having panic attacks. The doctor warned us this could happen. She creates elaborate fantasies when she's off her meds. Morrison nodded like this explained everything. Mr. Brennan. Alan Brennan. I manage construction sites, officer. I was at work when I got a call from her therapist saying she'd missed her appointment. I came home to check on her and found her ransacking my office. That's not true, I said, but my voice came out thin, shaky. Exactly how a paranoid woman might sound. Sweetheart, Alan said, taking a step toward me. Rodriguez moved slightly between us, but Morrison put a hand on his partner's arm. Look, Morrison said, seems like this is a domestic situation that's gotten out of hand, mister. Brennan, maybe you should stay somewhere else tonight. Give everyone a cooling off period. Of course, Alan said immediately. I'll stay with my brother. He's actually a cop too, over in Riverside County. Deputy Sheriff Brennan. Maybe you know him? Morrison's entire demeanor shifted. Tom Brennan's your brother? Good man. Helped with that trafficking case last year. That's him. Alan's voice stayed measured, reasonable. I just want my wife to get help. To be safe. She should probably stay somewhere too, Morrison said, looking at me but talking to Alan. Does she have family nearby? Her mother's in Oregon, Alan answered for me. But Vicky gets agitated when she travels. The doctor says routine is important. Maria stepped forward from behind the reception desk where she'd been frozen. She can stay with me. Alan's jaw tightened for just a second. That's kind of you, Maria. But I think Vicky needs to be home, in familiar surroundings. I'll go to Tom's place. She can have the house tonight. That seems reasonable, Morrison said, closing his notebook. He hadn't written anything in. Rodriguez was still looking at my arms. Ma'am, do you feel safe going home? Before I could answer, Alan spoke again. Officers, I know this looks bad, but I love my wife. I've been trying to get her proper help for months. Ask anyone who knows us. Morrison was already heading for the door. Get some rest, ma'am. Take your medication. Mr. Brennan, you'll stay away tonight? Absolutely. I just want what's best for Vicky. They left. Alan stayed for another moment, standing in the doorway. The house will be empty for you tonight, V, he said quietly. Get some rest. Take your pills. We'll talk tomorrow when you're feeling more like yourself. Then he was gone too. An hour after the police left, a woman from the women's shelter met me at the clinic. I'm Sarah, she said, sitting across from me in the break room. I'm a domestic violence advocate. Maria called us. Let's get you an emergency protective order. We drove to the courthouse in her car. I kept checking the mirrors, expecting Alan's truck. At the courthouse, Sarah walked me through the paperwork, helping me attach the journal photos to my application. The judge, an older woman with tired eyes, reviewed everything for less than 2 minutes. These journal entries are concerning, she said, but they're not direct threats. He's writing about past events, not future intentions. Without additional evidence of immediate danger, I can't grant the order. Petition denied. But he wrote about a permanent solution, I said. This morning, he circled it 3 times. That could mean anything. Divorce, separation, therapy. The judge was already looking at the next file. You need evidence of actual threats or violence, not creative writing. Sarah touched my arm gently as we left. This happens more than you'd think. The burden of proof for protective orders is high. We need documentation of direct threats or recent violence. My phone buzzed as we reached her car. Alan. The officers explained everything. I forgive you. Come home. Then another. Your car payment is due tomorrow. I handle the finances, remember? And another. Your mother called. I told her you were having another episode. She's worried. I opened our banking app. The joint checking account showed 0. The savings, 0. Everything transferred out. The credit cards I checked next, all canceled. Even the one I'd hidden from him. The one I'd just opened last month that had triggered yesterday's correction. He's cutting me off, I said, showing Sarah the screen. Financial abuse, she said quietly. It's how they keep control. Do you have any accounts in just your name? No. He said joint accounts showed trust in marriage. My phone rang. My mother. Vicky, Alan called me. He's so worried about you. He said you're off your medication again. Mom, I'm not. He said you attacked him in his office, that you're making up stories about him. Mom, please listen. You need to go home and apologize. That man loves you. He takes care of you. Do you know how lucky you are to have someone who puts up with your anxiety issues? I hung up. Sarah was watching me carefully. She won't help, I said. Family often doesn't understand. They see what the abuser wants them to see. Sarah pulled out a resource folder. There are programs that can help with emergency funds, but they take time to process. Another text from Alan. I'm being very patient, V, but the house payment is due next week. You can't afford it without me. Come home and we'll work this out like adults. Then, I've made an appointment with Dr. Martinez for tomorrow. Couples counseling, 2 p.m. If you don't show, I'll have to take steps to protect myself legally. What does that mean? I asked Sarah. He could file for a psychiatric hold, claim you're a danger to yourself. With his brother being a cop, with the officers today already thinking you're unstable. She didn't finish. So I have no money, no protection order, and if I don't go back, he'll have me committed. We can get you into a shelter. You'll be safe there while we figure out next steps. Another text. Your insulin is at the house. I know you're almost out. Your prescription is in my name, remember? The insurance is through my work. I wasn't diabetic. But the threat was clear. He controlled everything. The shelter, I said to Sarah. How soon can I go? We have a bed opening tomorrow. Tonight, can you stay with someone? Maria offered. Good. Don't go home, even if he says he'll leave. Men like him don't leave. They wait. My phone buzzed again. A photo this time. My car in the clinic parking lot, taken from across the street. The message underneath. I'm giving you space like the officer said. But I need to know you're safe. That's what loving husbands do. Maria drove us to my house that evening, her boyfriend Jake sitting silent in the back seat. Alan's truck wasn't in the driveway, but his mother's sedan was. Through the living room window, I could see them both sitting on my couch, waiting. Maybe we should leave, Jake said. No. I needed my medications, my documents, some clothes. Just stay close. We walked in together. Alan didn't stand up. He sat there in his work clothes, hands folded, looking exhausted and worried. His mother, Diane, immediately started talking. Vicky, every marriage has problems. You don't air dirty laundry in public. You especially don't make up stories that could ruin a good man's career. I didn't make up anything. I pulled out my phone. I have photos of his journal. Show them this supposed journal, Alan said quietly. I looked around the living room. On the coffee table sat a leather journal. My heart jumped until I realized it was different. Brown, not black, newer. Alan picked it up and flipped it open. This is my only journal. Work schedules. See? Monday, foundation pour at Riverside site. Tuesday, inspector coming for frame check. That's not the one. You destroyed it. How convenient. Diane's voice was ice. Alan showed me your search history, dear. She held up a printed page. Browser history from our shared laptop. Searches about false abuse claims and divorce proceedings. About how to get alimony. About hiding assets. I never searched those things. The timestamps say otherwise. Alan's voice stayed calm, reasonable. Thursday night, when I was at poker with the guys. Thursday night, I'd been at the hospital getting my stitches checked. But the receipt was in my purse, and my purse had been in the house. Maria stepped forward. This is ridiculous. I've seen Vicky's injuries. Her clumsiness isn't my fault, Alan said. I've tried to get her help. The anxiety makes her uncoordinated. Dr. Martinez said so. I scheduled couples counseling, he continued, looking directly at me. Tomorrow at 2. If you refuse to go, if you keep making these accusations, I'll have to protect myself legally. Jake shifted uncomfortably beside Maria. Maybe we should go. In a minute. I headed toward the stairs. I'm getting my things. Actually, Alan said, finally standing, you'll find an eviction notice on the bedroom door. This is my house, V. I bought it before we married. My name is on the deed. You have 30 days, but given your mental state, I think it's best if you leave tonight. I ran upstairs anyway. The notice was there, official and dated. Through the bedroom window, I could see 2 of Alan's construction crew buddies standing by their trucks in the street. Witnesses, probably. Or worse. I grabbed my medication from the bathroom, threw some clothes in a bag. The journal photos on my phone were all I had. When I came back down, Diane was showing Maria something on her phone. This is from Vicky's Instagram 3 months ago. Look how happy they were at the company picnic. Does this look like an abused woman? The photo showed me smiling next to Alan, his arm around my waist. I remembered that day. He'd gripped me so tight I had bruises for a week, whispering that I'd better look happy or else. But in the photo, we looked perfect. We're leaving, Jake said firmly, pulling Maria toward the door. I followed them out. Alan called after me in that concerned voice he'd perfected. Vicky, please get help. I love you, but I can't watch you destroy yourself like this. The counseling appointment is at 2 tomorrow. It's your choice. Outside, Jake walked faster toward the car. That was messed up, but Maria, we can't get involved in this. That dude knows people. Jake, Maria started. His brother's a cop. His crew was outside watching. I'm not trying to get my windows broken or worse. He got in the driver's seat. I'm sorry, but this is too much. Maria looked at me, torn. Vicky, it's okay. It wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. Just take me to the clinic. I'll figure something out. As we drove away, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, but I recognized the pattern. One of Alan's crew. Nice show, but everyone knows you're crazy. Even your friends are scared of you now. Then Alan. The offer stands. Counseling at 2. Or I file the psychiatric hold paperwork my brother helped me prepare. Your choice, V double quote. Maria's apartment felt like a trap by the time Jake dropped us off. I was staying on Maria's couch that night when my phone rang at 7 a.m. HR from the clinic. Vicky, we received concerning information about your mental stability. We need you to take mental health leave pending evaluation. What? Who told you? Your husband called. He said you're having a psychotic break. He provided documentation from your therapist about paranoid episodes. I didn't have a therapist. The anxiety medication was from my general doctor after my first accident. This is retaliation. I filed a police report yesterday. That's between you and your husband, but we can't have unstable staff working with patients. Don't come in until you have clearance from a psychiatrist. She hung up. No job meant no income. No income meant no ability to leave. My phone rang again. Unknown number, but I recognized the voice immediately. Tom Brennan, Alan's brother. Vicky, Alan's worried about you. Maybe you should get help. Your brother is abusing me. That's a serious accusation. You know I'm a deputy sheriff, right? Filing false reports is a crime. It's not false. I ran your name through the system. You've been treated for anxiety and paranoia. You're on medication. Judges don't look kindly on mentally ill women making accusations against hardworking men. He hung up. I went to delete the call from my log and noticed something. An app I didn't recognize. Family Tracker. I opened it. It showed my location at Maria's apartment in real time. Alan had installed it, probably weeks ago when I was sleeping off pain medication after surgery. Maria came out of her bedroom. My landlord just called. Someone reported suspicious activity at my unit. If police show up, I could lose my lease. My phone buzzed. Alan. All of this can stop whenever you're ready to come home. Then another. I know you're frightened. But I'm your husband. I take care of you. Without me, where will you go? Maria sat beside me. Vicky, I want to help, but Jake is freaked out. And now my landlord. I understand. I didn't understand. But I couldn't blame her. Alan was systematically cutting off every escape route. That afternoon, I met with a legal aid lawyer Sarah had connected me with. Catherine Chen, mid-40s, no wedding ring, eyes that had seen everything. I believe you, she said, after reviewing the journal photos. But photos aren't enough. Defense will claim they're staged or fictional. We need documented evidence. Like what? Recorded admissions, medical records showing a pattern, witnesses willing to testify. The bar is high because men like your husband know how to work the system. She helped me set up a new bank account at a different bank using a P.O. box address. I deposited the $200 I had hidden in my car. She gave me a burner phone, an old flip phone from a drawer in her desk. He doesn't know this number. Use it for anything related to your case. Maria let me borrow her ancient laptop from college. I created an encrypted cloud account under a fake name and started uploading everything. The journal photos, screenshots of his texts, photos of old bruises I'd sent to an online friend months ago when I was thinking about leaving. We need him to slip up, Catherine said. They always do. Men like him can't help themselves. They need control, and when they feel it slipping, they get reckless. How long will this take? However long it takes. Some women gather evidence for months, some for years. I don't have years. I don't even have weeks. He's going to escalate. Then we need to be smart. Keep that burner phone hidden. Record every interaction if you're in a one-party consent state, which you are. Save everything, and whatever you do, don't go back to him, no matter what he threatens. My regular phone rang. Alan's mother. Vicky, this is ridiculous. Come to the house. Alan's at work. We can talk, just us women. It was a trap. It was always a trap. I can't. He's hurting too, you know. He loves you. He just doesn't know how to show it properly. His father was the same way with me, so that's where he learned it. His father broke your arm twice, Diane. Silence. Then, how dare you bring that up? That was different. I was difficult back then. Alan's father was under pressure, just like Alan is now, thanks to you. She hung up. Catherine looked at me. You're not going back. It wasn't a question. No, I'm not going back. Good. Then let's build a case that will keep you safe. The next morning, Catherine called me on the burner phone with instructions. Record everything, every call, every interaction. We're in a one-party consent state, so it's legal. I downloaded a recording app on my regular phone. 20 minutes later, Alan called. I hit record before answering. V, please come home. His voice was thick, like he'd been crying. I'm sorry about your ribs. You just make me so angry sometimes. My ribs. He'd admitted it, out loud. Which ribs, Alan? You know which ones from last month. I didn't mean to hurt you that bad. You just wouldn't stop asking about the overtime money. I stayed silent, letting him talk. I've been under so much pressure at work. The Riverside project is behind schedule. My dad always said women don't understand the stress men carry. Your dad broke your mother's arm twice. She provoked him, just like you provoke me. But I forgive you. Come home. After he hung up, I played the recording back, clear as day. I'm sorry about your ribs. That afternoon, I went to the hospital records department. The clerk behind the desk looked tired until she pulled up my file. You need 5 years of records? That's extensive. She scrolled through her screen, her eyes widening. 23 emergency department visits? 23. I'd lost count after 10. She printed everything. The nurse who treated my latest rib fractures was still on shift. When I stopped by the ER, she recognized me immediately. I wondered why you had so many accidents, she said quietly, pulling me aside. The pattern was obvious. Injuries on parts of the body, usually covered by clothing. Explanations that didn't match the trauma patterns. Did you document that? I couldn't officially, but I made personal notes. She pulled out her phone, showing me entries in her notes app. October 3rd, patient presents with 3 fractured ribs, internal bleeding. Claims fall in garage. Injury pattern inconsistent with fall. Appears more consistent with repeated blunt force trauma to torso. Would you testify to that? She hesitated. I could lose my job. I understand. But let me talk to some others. Jennifer treated you 6 months ago. Amy saw you last year. We've all been worried. Maria texted me that evening. My coworker David mentioned something. His Ring doorbell faces your house. He has footage from 6 months ago. I met David at a coffee shop. He was nervous, kept checking over his shoulder. I didn't want to get involved, but Maria said you need help. He pulled up his phone. June 15th. My camera caught audio. The video showed the street, but the audio was clear. Alan's voice. You stupid bitch, I told you not to talk to him. Then screaming, my screaming. There's more. 7 different incidents over the past year. He sent me the files. I should have called the police. I'm sorry. People don't want to get involved. I understand. That night, scrolling through my old messages, I found something I'd forgotten. 3 months ago, I'd sent photos to an online friend in a support group. Bruises covering my ribs, my arms, my back. The message underneath, if something happens to me, Alan did this. She'd responded, please leave him. I'd replied, I can't. He controls everything. By the end of the week, I had 17 pieces of evidence. Recordings, medical records, witness statements, doorbell footage, photos, messages. Catherine reviewed everything on Maria's old laptop. This is good, really good, but we need one more thing. What? Him violating a direct order. Right now he's being careful. His brother's coaching him. But if we can get a restraining order and he violates it, that's criminal charges. The judge already denied the order. That was before. Now we have evidence. Real evidence. My regular phone buzzed. Alan again. I hit record. V, I know you're building some kind of case against me. Tom ran your lawyer's name. Catherine Chen, right? She's known for representing crazy women in divorces. Nobody's going to believe her. He paused. But I'm willing to forgive everything if you come home by tomorrow night. Otherwise, I'll have to protect myself. And you know I have resources you don't. After I hung up, Catherine smiled grimly. That's a threat. It's vague, but it's a threat. Combined with everything else, we might get that restraining order now. And if we don't, then we keep building. Men like Alan think they're smarter than everyone else. Eventually, he'll make a mistake they can't ignore. I don't know if I'll survive until eventually. Catherine looked at me directly. You will. You've survived 5 years. You can survive this. 2 days later, everything started closing in. I was at the grocery store buying ramen with my last $20 when a man approached me in the pasta aisle. Leather jacket, clean shave, looked like someone's dad. Mrs. Brennan? Your husband hired me. He's worried sick. A private investigator. I abandoned my basket and walked straight to my car. He followed. He just wants to know you're safe. That's all a loving husband wants. I drove away taking random turns, checking my mirrors every few seconds. The P I didn't follow, but that didn't matter. He'd already found me. Alan would know I shopped at that store, what I was buying, how I looked, everything. I started taking different routes everywhere. Monday, I drove 40 minutes out of my way to get to Catherine's office. Tuesday, I parked 6 blocks from the pharmacy and walked. Wednesday, I switched grocery stores 3 times before buying anything. Thursday at 3 a.m., Maria shook me awake on her couch. Someone's trying the door. Through the peephole, I saw Alan, not knocking, not calling out, just standing there, slowly turning the handle over and over, testing it. The security camera would catch everything, but what good would that do if he got inside? Should I call the police? Maria whispered. His brother would warn him they're coming. We sat in the dark for an hour until he finally left. Maria was shaking. In the morning, she looked exhausted. That was him, right? Your husband? Yeah. The camera got him trying the door. That's evidence, right? Yeah, but we both knew evidence didn't mean safety. That afternoon, my mother called. Diane says you're having a mental breakdown. Diane, Alan's mother. They were on a first-name basis now. She says you attacked Alan in his own home. She's very concerned. Mom, that's not true. Why would she lie? She's been nothing but gracious since you married Alan. She says he's been protecting you from yourself for years. He's been beating me for years. Silence. Then. Don't be dramatic, Victoria. Marriage is hard work. You can't just make up stories when things get difficult. I have proof. Alan says you've been off your medication. Maybe that's why you're confused. She hung up. I sat there holding the dead phone, realizing Alan had gotten to her completely. My own mother thought I was crazy. An hour later, I was walking to the corner store when a truck slowed beside me. 2 guys from Alan's construction crew. Big one was Jake Torres. I recognized him from the company picnic. The other I didn't know. They didn't say anything, just drove alongside me for 3 blocks, matching my pace exactly, before speeding off. When I got back to Maria's building, there was a note under the windshield wiper of my car. Plain white paper, block letters, we know where you are. Always. Maria found it when she was taking out trash. She came back inside, face white, hands shaking. They know where I live. Maria, I'm so sorry. What if they come back? What if they break in while I'm sleeping? I can leave. It's not just that. She couldn't look at me. Jake's freaking out. Says we can't get involved with this. My landlord called asking about the suspicious activity at my unit. Someone reported that strange men have been hanging around. Alan's crew. I know, but if I get evicted, I can't afford another place, not with first and last month's rent. I understood what she wasn't saying. That evening, I was packing my few things when I heard another truck outside. Same guys. They parked across the street and just sat there, watching, waiting. Maria came to the bedroom door. They're still out there. I know. Vicky. Her voice broke. I want to help. I really do, but I work alone here at night sometimes. Jake won't stay over anymore, and these guys know where I live now. I understand. I'm scared. I can't risk my safety. She was crying. I wanted to comfort her, tell her it was okay, but we both knew it wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay. Alan had won another round. He'd isolated me from another safe space, another friend, another chance at escape. Tomorrow I'd have to find somewhere else to hide. Tonight I still had Maria's couch, but we both knew this was my last night here. The next morning, I had to leave Maria's apartment for the court-ordered counseling session. The counselor's office was in a medical building downtown. Alan was already there with his lawyer, a woman in her 50s who looked at me like I was something stuck to her shoe. Mrs. Brennan refuses to acknowledge her role in the marital problems, the lawyer said before we even sat down. The counselor, Dr. Peterson, was a thin man who kept adjusting his glasses. He looked uncomfortable already. My client has documentation of Mrs. Brennan's mental health issues, the lawyer continued, sliding a folder across the desk. Anxiety disorder, paranoid episodes, medication, non-compliance. I looked for Catherine. She wasn't there. My lawyer had an emergency. We can't wait for tardiness, Alan's lawyer cut me off. Dr. Peterson's time is valuable. Dr. Peterson opened the folder, reading my therapy notes from 3 years ago when I'd started having panic attacks after Alan first broke my wrist. The notes made me sound unstable, fragmented, unreliable. Mrs. Brennan, Doctor, Peterson said slowly, it says here you've had multiple accidents requiring hospitalization. They weren't accidents. Alan shook his head sadly. She's clumsy when she's anxious. I've tried to help her, but she refuses to take her medication consistently. I see there are communication issues on both sides, Dr. Peterson said, writing something down. Both sides. Like me getting my ribs broken was a communication issue. Mr. Brennan has agreed to anger management classes, his lawyer said. He's committed to saving this marriage. Alan leaned forward, looking right at me with those concerned eyes he'd perfected. I love my wife. I just want her to get help. When Dr. Peterson looked down at his notes, Alan smiled. Just a quick flash of teeth, a reminder that he was winning. The session ended with Dr. Peterson recommending continued couples therapy. With proper communication techniques, many marriages can be saved. I walked to my car in the parking garage alone. The tires were slashed, all 4 of them, deep cuts that couldn't be patched. The security guard shrugged when I asked about cameras. System's been down all week, conveniently corrupted right when you need it, huh? I called Maria to pick me up. While I waited, Alan texted, "Car trouble? I can give you a ride home." Maria dropped me back at her apartment to get my things. When we walked in, the door was already open. Her laptop was smashed on the kitchen floor. Every piece of printed evidence I'd gathered was gone. The cloud storage passwords I'd written down, shredded. My clothes were still there, but everything related to the case had vanished. A note sat on the coffee table. "Stop this, or next time it won't be things that break." Maria was crying. "We need to call the police." They came. 2 officers, neither of them Morrison or Rodriguez. They looked around, took notes, shrugged. "No signs of forced entry." "You sure you locked the door?" "Yes," Maria said. "Well, without evidence of who did this, there's nothing we can do. File a report for insurance." After they left, Maria looked at me. Really looked at me. "I can't do this anymore. Maria. They broke into my home. Destroyed my property. What if I'd been here? What if they come back?" She was shaking. "You need to leave. Tonight. I'm sorry, but you need to go." I packed my clothes in a garbage bag. Everything I owned fit in one garbage bag. "The women's shelter?" I asked. "I called while you were packing." "They're full. 2-week wait list." I sat in my car that night at a rest stop off Highway 99. The back seat was my bed, a jacket my blanket. Every time a car pulled in, I jolted awake. At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. A photo of my car at the rest stop, taken from maybe 50 feet away. "You look cold," Alan texted. I started the engine and drove to another rest stop 40 miles away. An hour later, another photo, another text. "Can't run forever." I kept moving. Rest stop to rest stop, truck stop to truck stop, burning gas I couldn't afford to replace. At 8 a.m., work called. "Vicky, you've missed 3 shifts. We held your position as long as we could during your mental health leave, but if you can't provide clearance to return, we have to let you go. Please, I just need—" "I'm sorry. Your final check will be mailed to your address on file," Alan's address. I checked my bank account. The $200 I'd hidden was down to $180 after gas. No job, no home, no friends left who weren't terrified. My phone buzzed. Alan again. "Ready to come home yet? The house is warm, the bed is comfortable. All you have to do is admit you need help." I spent the next week living in my car, waking up every few hours to move to a new location. The truck stops had showers, $3 for 5 minutes of hot water. I'd stand under the spray until my skin turned red, trying to feel clean, but the smell of fear sweat never really left. Some mornings I'd pay for 2 showers back to back just to feel human for 10 minutes. Day 3, I got sick. Stress, exhaustion, and gas station food turned my stomach into knots. I threw up behind a dumpster at a rest stop, hands shaking, fever burning through my last clean shirt. Alan's daily texts arrived like clockwork. "Ready to come home yet?" Every morning at 7 a.m. Sometimes with photos of our bed made up with fresh sheets. Sometimes with pictures of dinner plates. Steak, potatoes, vegetables. "This could be yours." By day 5, I couldn't keep water down. The dehydration headache felt like someone driving nails into my skull. I'd lost 8 pounds. My hands shook constantly. When I stood up too fast, black spots danced across my vision. I drove myself to the ER at County General, the hospital 30 miles from Alan's territory. Told them I was homeless, no insurance. They put me in the hallway on a gurney for 6 hours before someone finally hooked up an IV. "Severe dehydration," the doctor said. "When's the last time you ate actual food?" I couldn't remember. They kept me for 8 hours, pumping fluids and anti-nausea medication. The bill would be another $3,000 I didn't have. My medical debt was now over $38,000. I was signing discharge papers when Diane walked in. Alan's mother stood there in her church clothes, pearl necklace, sympathetic smile that didn't reach her eyes. "This is what happens when you leave your husband," she said quietly, so the nurses couldn't hear. "Look at yourself. Living like an animal, making yourself sick. How did you find me?" "Alan's worried sick. He's barely eating. You're killing him with this nonsense." Security arrived before I could respond. The nurse had called them the moment Diane appeared. "Ma'am, you need to leave," the guard said. "I'm just checking on my daughter-in-law. She's asked you to leave. Let's go." Diane left, but not before whispering, "He'll forgive you if you come back now." But his patience isn't infinite. The nurse, an older black woman named Cheryl, waited until Diane was gone before speaking. "That your mother-in-law?" I nodded. "And you're running from her son?" I nodded again. Cheryl pulled out a card. "Women's shelter in Riverside County. My sister runs it. They might have space. Riverside is where Alan's brother works. He's a deputy sheriff. Then Sacramento. That's 2 hours north. Far enough? Maybe." She squeezed my hand. "You look like my daughter did 5 years ago. She got out. You will too." I drove north on fumes, gaslight blinking for 20 miles. Had to stop and put in my last $10. That got me halfway to Sacramento before the engine started making a grinding noise. The car died 2 miles from the shelter address. Just stopped. No dramatic breakdown, no smoke, just silence. I grabbed the garbage bag with my clothes and started walking. It was getting dark. Started to rain. Not a downpour, just that steady, freezing drizzle that soaks through everything. My phone died after the first mile. The bag got heavier with rain. My legs started shaking. The hospital bracelet was still on my wrist, already soaking through. A pickup truck slowed beside me. For a second, I thought it was Alan's crew, but it was an older Mexican woman. "You okay, honey?" "I'm looking for the women's shelter. 2 blocks up, take a left. You're almost there. Almost there." I'd been almost there for weeks. The shelter was a converted church, iron bars on the windows, security cameras, a doorbell with a speaker. I pressed it. Nothing. Pressed again. We're at capacity, a voice said through the speaker. Please, I just need... I'm sorry, try tomorrow morning. We might have someone leaving. I sat on the steps. The rain kept falling. My clothes were soaked through. The garbage bag had torn, my clothes spilling onto the wet concrete. A woman opened the door from inside. Not staff. Another resident, cigarette in hand. Jesus, you look like death. I just need somewhere to... Sarah, she called back inside. Sarah, get out here. I collapsed before Sarah reached the door. Not dramatically, just my legs giving out, sitting heavy on the concrete, unable to stand back up. Get her inside, I heard someone say. Now. They got me inside and wrapped me in towels that smelled like bleach and hope. Sarah, the advocate who ran the shelter, sat across from me in a tiny office that used to be a confessional booth. She had tired eyes but steady hands. You're Vicky Brennan. I've been expecting you. How? Catherine Chen called. Your lawyer. She's been trying to find you for 3 days. Sarah handed me a new phone, not a smartphone, an old flip phone like drug dealers use in movies. Burner phone, untraceable. Only Catherine has this number. I turned it over in my hands. Such a small thing, but it felt like armor. Your husband's been busy, Sarah said, turning her computer screen toward me. Alan's Facebook page. A post from 2 days ago with my wedding photo. My wife Victoria is missing. She's been struggling with mental health issues and stopped taking her medication. If anyone sees her, please contact me immediately. I just want her home safe. The comments made me sick. His construction crew buddies calling me crazy. His mother asking for prayers. People I'd known for years saying they always thought something was off about me. But then Sarah clicked on another tab. You have messages. 3 women had reached out through Facebook's other inbox, the one for people you're not friends with. The first, he did this to me too. 3 years ago. Said I was crazy when I tried to leave. The second, Alan Brennan broke my orbital bone. Cops didn't believe me. The third was longer. I dated Alan for 8 months in 2018. He seemed perfect until I tried to end things. The accident started small. I have medical records, photos, everything. I'll testify if you need me. Sarah printed everything. That third one, Jessica, she's already talked to Catherine. She's willing to provide a sworn statement. She got away, moved to Oregon, changed her name, but she kept all the evidence. My hands shook as I read Jessica's message again. Orbital bone, that's the eye socket. He'd broken her face. There's more, Sarah said. Catherine found another woman through hospital records. Similar injury patterns. She's scared to come forward, but she's thinking about it. 3 women, at least. How many others had there been? How many had stayed silent? Catherine called the burner phone that night. Vicky, thank God, I've been worried sick. I'm okay. I'm at the shelter in Sacramento. Good. Stay there. Listen, Jessica's statement is gold. She has photos, medical records, even a recording of Alan threatening her. Combined with your evidence, we might have enough. For a restraining order? For criminal charges. Multiple victims establishes a pattern. His brother can't protect him from that. I sat on a narrow cot in a room with 3 other women, all of us running from different versions of the same man. There's something else, Catherine said. The counselor from your court-ordered session called me. Dr. Peterson, the one who said we had communication issues. He reviewed his session notes after you left. Something felt wrong. He pulled the audio recording. He recorded us? Standard practice for court-appointed sessions. Alan didn't know. During the session, when he thought the counselor wasn't paying attention, Alan said something under his breath. What? She's lucky I only broke 3 ribs. Next time I'll finish the job. My breath caught. He said that out loud? Whispered it, but the recording picked it up. Dr. Peterson's willing to testify. 3 women with evidence, a counselor with a recording, medical records showing patterns. Maybe finally, enough. Don't get your hopes up, Catherine warned. Alan's smart. He has resources. His brother, his crew, his money. This won't be easy. I know. But Vicky? We have something now. Real evidence. Real witnesses. He can't explain all of this away. After she hung up, I sat in the shelter's common room. Another woman was watching the news. Something about a construction site accident. Alan's company logo flashed on screen. That's my husband's company, I said without thinking. She looked at me, really looked. You're running from one of them? I nodded. Construction guys are the worst. Think they own you because they work with their hands. My ex was a foreman, broke my jaw twice. Did you get away? 3 years now, remarried, got a restraining order that actually stuck because he violated it in front of a judge. Idiot couldn't control himself, even in court. She was right. They couldn't control themselves. That's what Catherine meant. Alan would slip up. He'd already started to. The recording proved it. Sarah knocked on the door frame. Vicky, you've got a bed here as long as you need it. That night at the shelter, I finally slept for more than 2 hours straight. The next morning, Catherine called the burner phone. Dr. Peterson reached out again. He's been reviewing his notes from your session. Why? Something felt wrong after you left. He pulled the audio recording. It's standard for court-appointed sessions. My stomach dropped. Alan knew he was being recorded? No, that's the point. When Peterson stepped out to get water, Alan whispered something. The mic picked it up. What did he say? Quote, sometimes you have to use force to maintain order. She understands that now. I sat down hard on the shelter's plastic chair. He'd admitted it, to using force, on tape. Peterson's willing to testify, Catherine continued. Says he's seen enough abuse cases to recognize the pattern. That afternoon, Maria texted the burner from a number I didn't recognize. Found something. My neighbor David kept his ring footage, June 15th. She sent a video file. Just audio, really. The camera faced the wrong direction, but the sound was clear. Alan's voice. I'll kill you before I let you leave me. You hear me? I'll fucking kill you. Then my screaming, then silence. That's the night I went to the hospital, I told Catherine when I forwarded it. June 15th. Your medical records show 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding. He said I fell down the stairs. The audio says different. Combined with Peterson's recording, Jessica's testimony, the other women coming forward, Vicky, we can file charges. Criminal charges? Assault, domestic violence, terroristic threats, maybe attempted murder without internal bleeding. 3 days later, everything went to hell. I was in the shelter's common room when Sarah ran in. Everyone to the safe room, now. We'd practice this. 20 women moving fast but quiet to the reinforced basement room. What's happening? Someone asked. There's a man at the front door. Says his wife is here. My blood went cold. Alan. We could hear him through the ventilation system. I know she's in there. My brother tracked her phone here. The shelter used signal blockers. He couldn't have tracked my phone, but his brother had connections. Probably tracked my car before it died, or pulled traffic cameras, or God knows what else cops can do when they're helping family. Open this fucking door. His voice was getting louder. Victoria, I know you're in there. Someone was already calling 911. Sarah was on with them, whispering urgently. Then we heard the pounding. Not knocking. Pounding. The whole building shook. You're my wife. You belong to me. The pounding got harder. We heard wood crack, the door frame. He's kicking the door, Sarah said into the phone. Send units now. One of the women had her phone out, recording through a small window. I'm getting all of this. Another crash. The door frame was splitting, then his voice changed. Lower. Scarier. If I can't have her, no one can. Everything went quiet for a second. Then Sarah screamed into the phone. He has a gun! He just pulled out a gun! The basement erupted, women crying, praying, holding each other. Stay down, Sarah commanded. The door is reinforced. The windows have bars. Just stay down. We heard sirens. Finally, getting closer. Police! Drop the weapon! She's my wife, Alan screamed. I have rights! Drop the weapon now! More sirens. So many sirens. This is SWAT. You're surrounded. Put down the gun. 20 minutes. That's how long the standoff lasted. 20 minutes of Alan screaming about his rights, about me belonging to him, about how he'd rather see me dead than free. 20 minutes of women around me shaking, some who'd lived through this before with their own Allans. Finally, we heard, suspect in custody. Sarah got the all-clear call 5 minutes later. When we came upstairs, the door frame was destroyed, splinters everywhere. The door itself had held, but barely. Catherine called within the hour. He's been arrested. Multiple charges. Assault on the shelter is a felony. Brandishing a weapon. Terrorist threats. Violating the emergency protective order we got filed yesterday. What emergency order? I filed it after getting the recordings. Judge signed it this morning. Alan was served 2 hours before he showed up at the shelter. He'd been served papers telling him to stay away, and he'd immediately come to find me, with a gun. Bail? I asked. They're holding him. Prosecutors requesting no bail given the weapon and direct threats. His brother's under investigation, too. Internal Affairs opened a case about him using police resources for personal matters. I sat on the shelter steps where just days ago I'd collapsed. The door frame beside me was in pieces, but I was still here. Alan wasn't. For the first time in 5 years, Alan couldn't reach me. The police found way more than just the gun in Alan's truck. They called Catherine while I was still sitting on the shelter's broken steps. You need to hear this, she said. The arresting officer had searched Alan's Ford F-150. Under the driver's seat, a loaded Glock 19 with one in the chamber. In the glove box, a hunting knife and zip ties. But the worst part was in his laptop bag. A handwritten list. My name at the top. Then Sarah from the shelter. Catherine's name, Maria. Even the nurse from the ER who'd given me the shelter information. He had a kill list, Catherine said. That's what the prosecutor's calling it. There was more. A 3-page manifesto in his truck about how men were losing their God-given authority over their households. How women like me needed to be taught final lessons. How if he couldn't maintain order in his own home, he'd make an example that other men could follow. The detective taking photos found something else. Screenshots from men's rights forums where Alan had been posting for months under the username Disciplined Man. Posts about how to track your wife's phone, how to document her mental instability for court, how to use the system against her. His last post from that morning, sometimes permanent solutions are necessary. Within hours, it hit the news. Local construction manager threatens women's shelter with weapon. They didn't use my name, but Alan's face was everywhere. Channel 7, Channel 10, the newspaper website. His company, Brennan Construction, released a statement within 2 hours. We've terminated Alan Brennan effective immediately. We do not tolerate violence or threats against anyone, especially vulnerable populations. By evening, his construction crew was scrambling to distance themselves. Jake Torres, the one who'd stalked me at Maria's, told reporters he had no idea Alan was that kind of guy. Another crew member claimed he'd tried to talk Alan into getting help. Lies. All of it lies. But they knew which way the wind was blowing now. I was in the shelter's TV room when Diane showed up at the police station. The news caught it live. Alan's mother in her church dress, pearls catching the light, talking to reporters. This is all a terrible misunderstanding. My son is a good man who loves his wife. She's been struggling with mental illness and making false accusations. A reporter shoved a microphone closer. Ma'am, he had a loaded weapon and a list of names. That's not... He was probably just... She stopped, looking lost. Alan was trying to protect himself from her lies. By threatening to kill shelter workers? Diane's face crumbled for just a second before hardening again. My son is innocent until proven guilty. Inside the station, Tom Brennan was having his own problems. Internal Affairs had opened an investigation into him using department resources to track me. Turned out he'd run my plates 17 times in the past week, pulled my phone records, accessed my medical information through the police database. Catherine called again that night. Tom's been suspended pending investigation. He might lose his badge. Good. There's more. Jessica and the other women saw the news. They're all willing to testify now. Seeing his face on TV, knowing he's locked up, it gave them courage. The prosecutor was building a case. Assault with a deadly weapon, criminal threats, stalking, domestic violence with great bodily injury, violation of a protective order, possession of a weapon while subject to a restraining order. He's looking at 15 to 20 years if convicted on all counts, Catherine said. But the best part came from an unexpected source. Dr. Peterson, the counselor from our court-ordered session, called the prosecutor directly. I've been thinking about that session all week, he told them. In 30 years of practice, I've never seen someone so calculated about violence. When he thought I couldn't hear, he said she deserved worse than broken ribs. I should have reported it immediately. The construction company's internal investigation found something else. Alan had been using company vehicles and gas cards to follow me. The GPS logs showed everywhere he'd stalked me. Every rest stop, every parking lot, all on company time and money. His foreman came forward. He talked about her constantly, said she needed to learn her place. We thought it was just talk. Just talk. 3 broken ribs was just talk. Internal bleeding was just talk. 5 years of terror was just talk. By the end of the day, Alan Brennan was done, his job gone, his brother suspended, his reputation destroyed, his freedom hanging by a thread, and he'd done it all to himself. The moment he picked up that gun and drove to the shelter, he'd written his own ending. But I knew this wasn't over. Men like Alan don't just accept defeat. Even from a jail cell, he'd try to maintain control. The prosecutor warned me. He'll probably try to plea bargain, claim temporary insanity, say you drove him to it. Let him try. For the first time in 5 years, I wasn't afraid of what Alan might do. He was locked up. I was free. The whole world had seen his true face. The grand jury convened 3 days after Alan's arrest. Catherine prepared me for what would happen. You won't be in there, just the prosecutor presenting evidence, but they'll indict. With what we have, they have to. They indicted on 7 counts: assault with a deadly weapon, criminal threats, stalking, domestic violence causing great bodily injury, violation of a protective order, possession of a firearm while subject to a restraining order, false imprisonment from the times he trapped me in rooms. The prosecutor, Angela Martinez, was a small woman with sharp eyes who'd been doing this for 15 years. I've seen a lot of abusers. Your husband documented his own crimes. That journal, the online posts, the manifesto. He thought he was proving his control. Instead, he gave us everything. Jessica flew in from Oregon to give her statement. 2 other women, Sandra and Kelly, came forward after seeing the news. Sandra had a metal plate in her jaw from when Alan broke it in 2017. Kelly had nerve damage in her left hand. Same pattern, Angela said. Escalating violence, financial control, isolation. Then they got away and he moved on to the next one. At the bail hearing, Alan's lawyer argued for release. My client is a respected businessman with strong community ties. Angela stood up. Your client had a kill list with 5 names. He brought a loaded weapon to a women's shelter. He has a documented pattern of violence spanning 7 years and 4 victims. The judge set bail at $500,000. Diane put up her house as collateral. By that evening, Alan was out. The conditions were strict: no contact with me or any witness. Surrender all weapons. GPS, ankle monitor. Stay 500 feet from my location at all times. He lasted 12 hours. The GPS alert came at 2 a.m. Alan had driven past the shelter. Not stopped, not approached. Just drove by slowly. That's a violation, Catherine said when she called. He's testing boundaries. The police picked him up at his mother's house at 6 a.m. Diane screaming about harassment. Alan silent, smirking as they cuffed him. Judge revoked bail immediately. Mr. Brennan, you were given clear conditions. You violated them within hours. You're a danger to the victim and the community. Alan's lawyer protested. It was a simple drive-by. No contact was made. A drive-by of a women's shelter where his victim resides, violating the 500-foot requirement. Bail is revoked. The defendant will remain in custody pending trial. They assigned him a public defender when his money ran out. His assets frozen due to the civil suit Catherine filed. The house he'd kicked me out of was now collateral for his mother's lost bail money. Tom's suspension turned into termination when they found he'd been running background checks on women for Alan for years. Every woman Alan dated, Tom would pull their records, their addresses, their family information. Your brother-in-law was helping him hunt, Angela told me. We're adding conspiracy charges. 3 months until trial. Alan called his mother from jail every day. She put money in his commissary account while her house went into foreclosure from the lost bail. The construction crew scattered. Some got work with other companies. Jake Torres left the state entirely after reporters started calling. The company itself faced lawsuits from 3 different women Alan had harassed using company resources. Maria reached out after seeing everything on the news. I'm so sorry I got scared. I should have been stronger. You did what you could. Can I testify? About him showing up at my apartment? Everyone wanted to testify now that he was locked up, now that he couldn't reach them. Angela built the case methodically. Medical records, audio recordings, the journal photos, witness statements, the manifesto, the kill list, the GPS tracking data from his work trucks showing everywhere he'd stalked me. Most domestic violence cases are he said, she said, Angela explained. This one has a paper trail a mile long. He documented everything thinking it made him powerful. Dr. Peterson agreed to testify about the counseling session. I've been reviewing my notes. He showed no remorse. Called violence necessary corrections. I should have seen it clearly then. Even the ER nurses were ready to testify. 3 of them had documented suspicions in their personal notes, knowing they couldn't put it in official records without proof. The trial date was set for February 15th. 3 months away. 3 months of Alan in a cage instead of me hiding in one. Sarah from the shelter told me something that stuck. Most abusers think they're smarter than everyone. That's what destroys them. They can't help but document their control. They need proof of their power. Alan wrote his own conviction the day he started that journal. 3 months to wait. but for the first time in 5 years, I could breathe. He was in jail. I was free. The system was finally working. The day Alan was denied bail for the second time, I moved into transitional housing. It was just a studio apartment, but it had a deadbolt, a chain lock, a peephole. Things that felt like luxury after weeks of looking over my shoulder. The nightmares started immediately. Not about Alan hurting me. I'd lived through that. These were about him getting out, standing over my bed, whispering that he'd found me again. I'd wake up gasping, drenched in sweat, checking the locks 3 times before my heart would slow down. The trauma therapist at the shelter, Dr. Kim, said this was normal. Your body's been in survival mode for 5 years. It doesn't know how to feel safe yet. Every sudden sound made me jump. A door slamming, a car backfiring, someone walking too close behind me at the store. My body was constantly ready to run. The support group met Tuesday nights in the shelter basement. 8 women sitting in a circle, sharing stories that sounded like mine with different names. My ex hired a PI too, one woman said. Followed me for months. Mine showed up at my job with a gun, another added. Just like yours. How long until the fear stops? I asked. It doesn't stop, said Carmen, who'd been free for 3 years. But it gets quieter. You learn to live around it. I got a part-time job at a grocery store 20 miles from Alan's neighborhood. Minimum wage, but it was income he couldn't touch. My manager, Beth, was also a survivor. She scheduled me for day shifts only, never made me work alone. Building back takes time, she said. Be patient with yourself. But patience was hard when Diane started calling. She'd gotten my new number somehow. Different phones every time so I couldn't block them all. Drop the charges or you'll regret it. You're destroying my family. Alan's going to kill himself because of you. I recorded every call, forwarded them to Catherine. After the 7th call, she filed harassment charges. She's trying to witness tamper. That's a felony, Catherine said. Angela, the prosecutor, met with me every week to prepare. We went over every detail, every date, every injury. His defense will try to make you look unstable, she warned. They'll bring up your anxiety medication. Your ER visits. They'll say you're accident-prone. I know. They'll ask why you didn't leave sooner. I know. They'll try to make you angry. Emotional. Don't let them. We practiced my testimony until I could recite dates and injuries without crying. January 2020, wrist fracture. June 2020, bruised ribs. November 2021, concussion. April 2022, facial lacerations. October 2024, 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding. You need to be specific but calm, Angela said. Emotional, but not hysterical. The other women were preparing too. Jessica flying back and forth from Oregon, Sandra getting time off from work, Kelly in therapy to handle testifying about her nerve damage. He hurt all of us, Jessica said during a video call, but together, we're going to stop him from hurting anyone else. 2 weeks before trial, Alan's lawyer tried one last plea deal. 7 years with possibility of parole in 3. No, I said immediately. Think about it, Angela advised. Trial is traumatic. He could get less if the jury sympathizes with him. Or he could get more. Or he could get more, she agreed. That night in support group, Carmen asked me something. What do you need from this trial? I need him to hear me. Really hear me. What he did. What it cost. And if he doesn't, then I need everyone else to hear it, so they know what he is. 3 months of freedom, but I still checked locks obsessively. Still mapped exits everywhere I went. Still flinched when men raised their voices. But I also laughed with my support group. Felt sun on my face without worrying about bruises showing. Ate meals without asking permission. Chose my own clothes. Spoke when I wanted to speak. Small freedoms that felt revolutionary. Angela called the night before trial. Are you ready? No, I said honestly. But I'm doing it anyway. Good. That's courage. Being scared and doing it anyway. Tomorrow I would face Alan in court. Look at him while he sat in shackles. Tell a room full of strangers how he broke my body and tried to break my spirit. You ready? Angela asked again. Yes, I said this time. I'm ready. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Alan sat at the defense table in his orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed to a chain around his waist. He'd lost weight, his hair was longer, but his eyes were exactly the same. Cold and calculating, tracking my every movement as I walked to the witness stand. I raised my right hand and swore to tell the truth. My voice came out steady. I'd practiced this moment 100 times with Angela. State your name for the record, Angela said. Victoria Brennan. Are you married to the defendant? Yes, for 5 years. Alan stared at me, not blinking, not moving, just staring like he could control me with his eyes alone. Can you tell the jury about October 3rd, 2024? I turned to the jury box. 12 strangers who would decide everything. My husband broke 3 of my ribs and caused internal bleeding that required emergency surgery. He said I'd opened a credit card without permission. Objection, Alan's public defender said. Alleged. My client allegedly. Sustained. The jury will note these are allegations. Angela pulled up my medical records on the screen. These are your x-rays from that night. Can you identify them? Yes, those are my ribs. You can see the fractures here, here, and here. For 3 hours, we went through every injury, every date, every hospital visit. The jury saw photos of bruises, medical reports, bills totaling $38,000. Then came cross-examination. Mrs. Brennan, the defense attorney started. Isn't it true you have an anxiety disorder? Yes, developed from years of abuse. You were prescribed medication for paranoia? No, for panic attacks that he caused. But you have a history of mental illness. I have a history of being beaten by your client. Objection, non-responsive, sustained. The defense attorney tried again. You claim my client kept a journal documenting abuse. Where is this journal? He destroyed it. How convenient. So we only have your word that it existed? And the photos I took. Photos that could have been staged. Angela stood up. Your Honor, we'd like to play the audio from the doorbell camera. Alan's voice filled the courtroom. I'll kill you before I let you leave me. The jury shifted in their seats. One woman covered her mouth. Dr. Peterson testified next. During our session, Mr. Brennan said he corrected her behavior through physical force. When he thought I wasn't listening, he said sometimes force is necessary to maintain order. Did he seem remorseful? Angela asked. No, he seemed proud. Jessica took the stand after lunch. She lifted her hair to show a scar on her scalp. Alan did this in 2018, said I embarrassed him at dinner. Sandra testified about her broken jaw, Kelly about her nerve damage. 3 women, same pattern, same escalation. By day 3, Alan couldn't contain himself anymore. When Angela played his manifesto, his writing about permanent solutions and teaching final lessons, he erupted. They're all lying. He shot up from his chair. She made me do it. They all made me do it. They wouldn't listen. The judge banged his gavel. Mr. Brennan, control yourself. She was supposed to obey. That's what wives do. The Bible says, bailiff, remove the defendant. They dragged him out, still screaming. This is what happens when men lose control. This is what you wanted, Victoria. You did this. The jury stared at the door he'd been pulled through. They'd just seen the real Alan, the one I'd lived with for 5 years. Closing arguments were brief. The defense claimed I was unstable, accident-prone, that Alan was pushed too far by a difficult wife. Angela simply pointed to the evidence. 4 women, 23 hospital visits, a journal documenting corrections, a kill list, a loaded gun at a women's shelter. This isn't about a difficult marriage. This is about a man who thinks violence is his right. The jury deliberated for 4 hours that felt like 4 years. When they filed back in, the foreman stood. On count 1, assault with a deadly weapon, we find the defendant guilty. Guilty, guilty, guilty. 7 times. Alan didn't react, just stared at me with those dead eyes. But for the first time in 5 years, his stare didn't scare me. He was guilty. Everyone knew it now. The whole world knew what he was. 2 weeks after the guilty verdict, we returned for sentencing. I stood at the podium with my victim impact statement in my hands. The paper shook, but my voice didn't. You stole 5 years of my life. Not just the days or months, but the person I was. The woman who trusted people. Who didn't map exits in every room. Who could sleep without checking locks 3 times. Alan sat shackled at the defense table, staring at the wall behind me. Not at me. Never at me anymore. I live with chronic pain from injuries you caused. My ribs ache when it rains. I can't lift my left arm above my shoulder because of nerve damage from when you twisted it behind my back. Every morning I wake up in a body you broke. The courtroom was silent except for my voice. I may never feel safe again. Every man who walks behind me could be you. Every knock at the door makes my heart race. Every time someone raises their voice, I'm back in that house, calculating how fast I can reach the door. I looked directly at him then. But I'm here. I survived you. And everyone knows what you are now. I sat down. Angela squeezed my hand. The judge asked Alan if he wanted to speak. He stood slowly. Everything I did was out of love. She made me. That's enough, the judge cut him off. Mr. Brennan, I've reviewed the evidence. The journal entries, the recordings, the testimonies of 4 women. You show no remorse, no accountability. You still believe violence is your right. Diane stood up in the gallery. This is injustice. My son. Ma'am, sit down or you'll be removed. She sat but kept muttering. The judge continued. Mr. Brennan, I sentence you to 8 years in state prison with possibility of parole after 3 years. 8 years. Only 8. Additionally, a lifetime restraining order is granted. You are to have no contact with Mrs. Brennan for the rest of your natural life. You are ordered to pay $50,000 in restitution for medical expenses. Alan finally looked at me as the bailiff stood him up. This isn't over. The judge's head snapped up. Mr. Brennan, you just made a threat in my courtroom. Bailiff, note that for the record. Additional charges may be filed. They dragged him toward the door, but Diane erupted. You've ruined his life. She was screaming at me. You vindictive little bitch! You've destroyed my family! She lunged toward me. I didn't even flinch. After Alan, his mother didn't scare me. Security grabbed her before she reached me, but she managed to spit. It landed on my shoe. Assault, the judge said calmly. Arrest her. They cuffed Diane right there. She kept screaming as they dragged her out. Something about me being a whore, about ruining a good man, about how I'd regret this. The courtroom emptied slowly. Jessica hugged me. Sandra nodded from across the aisle. Kelly was crying. 8 years, I said to Angela. That's all? With his behavior, he won't get parole at 3. He'll serve at least 6, maybe the full 8. And then the restraining order keeps him away. Any violation, he goes back. Catherine met us outside. The civil suit for damages is next. We'll take his assets. His mother's house is already in foreclosure from the lost bail. He'll have nothing when he gets out. Tom Brennan was across the parking lot in civilian clothes since he'd lost his badge. He started walking toward us, but Angela stepped forward. Keep walking, Tom. You're under investigation. You don't want to add witness intimidation. He stopped, looked at me with pure hatred, then got in his car. They're all going down, Catherine said. Alan's in prison. His mother's facing assault charges. His brother lost his career. The construction company is bankrupt from lawsuits. The crew scattered to the wind. 6 months ago, Alan had everything. Job, house, family support, friends, control over me. Now he had a cell and a number. That night, I sat in my studio apartment with the support group on video call. How do you feel? Carmen asked. Empty, I said honestly. I thought I'd feel victorious or relieved or something, but I just feel empty. That's normal, she said. You've been fighting for so long. Now the fight's over and you don't know what to do with the quiet. And she was right. For the first time in 5 years, I didn't have to run or hide or gather evidence or prepare testimony. I just had to learn how to live. The chronic pain would always be there. The medical debt would take a decade to pay off. The nightmares might never fully stop. But Alan was in a cage, and I was free. That had to be enough. 6 months later, I was still figuring out how to exist without looking over my shoulder every second. I'd found a one-bedroom apartment with 3 deadbolts. I installed them myself, added a chain lock, a doorstop alarm, a camera that sent alerts to my phone every time someone walked past my door. I checked that camera obsessively, 20, 30 times a day, every delivery person, every neighbor, every shadow that might be Alan somehow getting out early. Therapy happened twice a week in a small office downtown. Dr. Kim officially diagnosed me with PTSD after our 3rd session. Your body's still protecting you from a threat that's locked up, she explained. It doesn't know the war is over. She was right. My body stayed ready to run, heart racing at footsteps, muscles tensing at men's voices, that sick drop in my stomach whenever I saw a truck that looked like Alan's. But some things were getting better. I'd started working full-time again at a different medical clinic across town. Nobody there knew my story. I was just Vicky, who filed insurance claims and answered phones and took lunch breaks alone. Thursday nights, I went to kickboxing at the community center, not to learn to fight. Alan had made sure I knew I couldn't win that way, but there was something about choosing to hit the bag, choosing when to strike, choosing to be powerful instead of small. The instructor, Marcus, was careful with all the women in class. He announced his movements, asked before adjusting our form, kept his voice level and calm. He knew without asking that half of us were there for the same reason. Dating wasn't even a thought. The idea of trusting someone with my address, my routine, my body, impossible. The other women in group said it might come back. Carmen had remarried after 4 years, but she still flinched sometimes when her husband moved too fast. The trust might never fully return, she said, but you learn to work around it. Maria reached out after 6 months of silence. We met at a coffee shop in neutral territory, both of us nervous. I'm sorry I got scared, she said, stirring her latte without looking at me. I understand. I was scared too. I should have been stronger. You were as strong as you could be. She started crying. I felt so guilty, kicking you out when you needed help. You gave me shelter when I had nowhere else. That was enough. We weren't the same friends we'd been before. That easy trust was gone, but we were trying to build something new from what was left. Work was easier than friendship. I could be professional Vicky for 8 hours, smile at patients, process paperwork, make small talk about weather, then go home to my triple-locked apartment and check my camera 20 more times. The chronic pain never left. My ribs ached constantly, worse when it rained. The nerve damage in my shoulder meant I couldn't lift anything heavy. Some mornings I woke up feeling like I'd been beaten all over again. Phantom pains from old injuries. The medical debt felt like another prison. $50,000 in restitution sounded like justice, but Alan had no assets left. His mother's house was gone to foreclosure. I'd maybe see a few thousand over the next decade. The rest of the $38,000 in medical bills was mine to carry, but I was carrying it. $50 a month to the hospital, $25 to the surgeon, $10 to radiology. It would take 15 years to pay off, but I was paying it. In group therapy, we talked about the small victories. Sleeping 4 hours straight, going to the grocery store without mapping exits, laughing at something stupid on TV. You're not trying to get back to who you were, Dr. Kim explained. That person is gone. You're building someone new. The new person checked locks obsessively, avoided men who looked like Alan, couldn't sleep without checking that camera one more time. But the new person also chose her own food, wore what she wanted, spoke without permission, went where she pleased. Small freedoms that still felt foreign. Sometimes I'd catch myself asking permission for things. Is it okay if I... Then stopping, remembering nobody controlled me anymore. One night, I realized I'd gone a whole hour without thinking about Alan. Then I thought about him by noticing I wasn't thinking about him, which ruined it, but still. 1 hour. Dr. Kim called that progress. I called it surviving. Some days that had to be enough. Some days it was everything. The woman who'd walked into that shelter 6 months ago wouldn't recognize me now. Steady job, own apartment, kickboxing twice a week, slowly rebuilding friendships, still broken, still healing, but standing. And Alan was still in a cage. That was worth everything. 1 year later, I stood at the podium in the community center, looking at 30 women who'd come to hear me speak. Leaving was the hardest thing I ever did, I said into the microphone. But staying would have killed me. The domestic violence awareness event was small. No news cameras, no fancy banners, just survivors and the people trying to escape. Document everything, I told them. Even if it seems small, the bruise on your arm, the broken plate, the nasty text, take photos, save recordings, email them to yourself. Because one day, those tiny pieces become the evidence that sets you free. A woman in the back raised her hand. What if he finds out? Mine did. That's when he escalated. That's when I ran. But those photos I took of his journal became the evidence that convicted him. After the event, Sarah from the shelter approached me. You're good at this. Have you thought about training to become an advocate? I had. Every Tuesday, I shadowed her at the shelter, learning how to file protective orders, how to navigate court systems, how to find emergency housing, how to help women who looked exactly like I had a year ago. 3 days later, Catherine called. Alan's requesting early parole. I was sitting in my car outside work. My hands started shaking. My chest got tight. Black spots danced in my vision. Panic attack. I knew the signs now. I counted my breaths. 5 inches. Hold. 5 out. The technique Dr. Kim taught me. Then something shifted. The panic turned to anger. Pure, clean anger. No, I said. You'll need to write to the parole board. I'll do it tonight. I wrote 3 pages. About the chronic pain that never stopped. about the night terrors, about checking my door camera 50 times a day, about how he'd threatened me in open court, about the kill list, about the other women he'd hurt. He hasn't changed, I wrote. He's just contained. The moment he's free, he'll hurt someone else, because that's who he is. 2 weeks later, Catherine called back. Parole denied. I sat on my apartment floor and cried. Not from sadness, from relief. Diane still sent letters. One arrived every month like clockwork. I never opened them anymore. They went straight to Catherine, who filed them as evidence of ongoing harassment. The chronic pain flared up worse in winter. Some mornings I couldn't get out of bed without crying. The nerve damage meant I'd never regain full use of my left shoulder. My body would always carry what Alan did to me. The medical debt was down to $20,000. I'd negotiated payment plans, 50 here, 25 there. It would take another decade, but I was managing. That afternoon, my phone rang at the shelter office where I now worked part-time. Helpline, this is Vicky. Silence. Then a whisper. My husband hurts me. I understand. Let's get you somewhere safe. Her name was Ashley, 23 years old, 2 broken fingers, a husband who kept a notebook of her mistakes. I helped her file the protective order, found her emergency shelter, sat with her while she cried, gave her the same resources Sarah had given me. Will it get better? Ashley asked. Different, I said honestly. It gets different. You learn to live with the damage, but you get to live. That's what matters. 6 months ago, I'd started speaking at events, small ones, churches, community centers. Sometimes just 3 people showed up, sometimes 30. I told them about the journal, the hospital visits, the shelter, the trial, the aftermath. People ask if I regret not leaving sooner, I'd always end with. But you can't regret surviving however you had to survive. One night, after speaking to a group of nursing students, an older woman approached me. My daughter's in a situation. Her boyfriend, he hasn't hit her yet, but... Yet, I said. That word tells you everything. I gave her resources, shelter numbers, legal aid contacts, my work number. Call anytime, I said. This was my life now. Working at the clinic by day, advocating at the shelter by evening, speaking when I could, paying off debt slowly, living with pain constantly, but also choosing my own meals, wearing what I wanted, sleeping without fear of being woken by violence, small freedoms that still felt revolutionary. The journal Alan kept to document his control had become the evidence that freed me. He wrote his own conviction page by page, entry by entry. Now I was writing my own future. One day at a time, one breath at a time, one moment of freedom at a time. Some people called me a survivor, others called me a victim. I called myself Vicky, just Vicky, free.